Greetings everyone, thank you for coming to my channel. So in this video you'll be learning about action verbs. So what is an action verb? Action verbs, also known as dynamic verbs, describe physical or mental activities that can be witnessed. So for our physical action verbs we have kick, walk, jump, eat, laugh, run, and hit. And physical action verbs are more obvious, like you don't have to think about them, you just know that they're verbs. You just know that it's an action and you don't have to question it. Mental action verbs are a little bit more tricky. So for our mental action verbs we have think, dream, stare, believe, love, understand, and deserve. And these are all actions that can be observed, like you can see someone doing the action. Next, we have our physical action verbs being used in sentences. So example 1 says, I am going to kick the ball. So in this sentence, kick is the action verb, well, the physical action verb to be exact. And kicking is more obvious, like you can see someone doing that. I can't remember where I was going with that, but yes, kick is the physical action verb in the sentence. Example 2 says, I am going for a walk, and walk is our physical action verb in this sentence. Walking is something that you can see someone do, and is obvious. Example 3 says, if the joke is funny, I'll laugh. So laugh is the physical action verb in this sentence, and that's something that's obvious, like you can clearly see someone laughing. So yeah, just remember that physical action verbs are on the obvious side. Next, we have mental action verbs being used in sentences. So example 1 says, I think it's time to get a job. So in this sentence, think is the mental action verb. And as you can see, it's something that's not as obvious. Like you can see someone thinking, but it's not as obvious as like somebody jumping or running. But you know that thinking is something that you can see a person doing. Example 2 says, I don't understand what you're saying. And our verb in this sentence is understand. Well, our mental action verb to be exact. So you can observe someone understanding something, but it's not as obvious as like walking or laughing or talking. And example 3 says, I believe you. In this sentence, believe is our mental action verb. And believing is something that you can observe someone doing, but it's not that obvious. And just ask yourself, is believe something that someone can do? And then if the answer is yes, then it's an action verb. Well, a mental action verb to be exact. Action verbs can be either transitive or intransitive. Transitive action verbs tell us what the subject does to the object. So just to elaborate, for those of you that don't know what subjects and objects are, which I would advise you to learn what they are because they're a big part of English. A subject does the action and an object is the recipient of the action. In other words, the action is being done to the object. And I also have a video on subjects and objects, so you guys can feel free to check that out. So example 1 says, she kicked her brother. So kicked is the transitive action verb that's telling us what the subject does to the object. So she is the subject because she's doing the action, and her brother is the object because he's the recipient of the action. He's being kicked. Example 2 says, I ate dinner. Ate is the transitive action verb that's telling us what the subject, I, is doing to the object, dinner. I am the subject because I'm doing the action, and dinner is the object because dinner is receiving the action. The dinner is being eaten. Example 3 says, I bought a new car. So bought is the transitive action verb that's telling us what the subject, I, is doing to the object, which is the car. So I'm the subject because I'm doing the action, and the car is the object because the car is being bought. Intransitive action verbs tell us what the subject is doing. No object is needed. Example 1 says, she laughed obnoxiously. So as you can see, the verb is laughed. That's the intransitive action verb. And the subject is she because she is doing the action. She is laughing. And as you can see, there's no object. There's nothing that's receiving the action. Example 2 says the boy screamed. So the intransitive action verb is screamed, and that verb is telling us what the subject is doing. The subject is the boy because the boy is the one that did the action. And as you can see, there's no object. There's nothing or nobody that's receiving the action. Example 3 says I slept peacefully. The intransitive action verb in this sentence is slept, and it's telling us what the subject is doing. The subject is I because I'm the one doing the sleeping. Well, I was doing the sleeping because it's past tense. Be sure to conjugate your verbs correctly. So for example, kick is a regular verb. In the past tense, it's kicked. In the present tense, it's kick. And in the future tense, it's will kick. Also, I have a whole video on different verb tenses, so you guys can feel free to check that out for a detailed explanation, because this is just a surface level explanation and I'm not getting into details in this video because I'm talking about something else. So yeah, I wanted to focus on the topic at hand. So if you want to learn all about the different verb tenses, go ahead and check out that video. Oh, and the form of the verb can change depending on who is doing the action, and the examples will be in the next slide. Okay, so the first sentence says, I kick my dog all the time. So notice how when I'm saying I, the verb is just kick. But then when we look at the next sentence, it says, he kicks my dog all the time. We wouldn't say he kicked my dog all the time. We would say he kicks my dog all the time. And the same thing goes for if we're using she. The form of the verb would change. So we wouldn't say she kicked my dog all the time. We would say she kicks my dog all the time. Now let's check out the verb think, which is an irregular verb. And this is also a mental action verb. So think in the past tense is thought. In the present tense, it's think. And in the future tense, it's will think. And keep in mind the form of the verb can change depending on who is doing the action. And the examples will be in the next slide. So our first sentence is, I think that's a great idea. So notice how when we used I, the form of the verb stays the same. But then when we use he, we wouldn't say he think that's a great idea. We would say he thinks that's a great idea. And the same thing goes for when we use she. We would say she thinks that's a great idea, not she think that's a great idea. And also if we use they, we would say they think that's a great idea, not they thinks that's a great idea. So make sure that you remember that depending on who's doing the action, that dictates how the verb will look. Last but not least, we have walk, which is a regular verb. So walk in the past tense is walked. Walk in the present tense is walk, and walk in the future tense is will walk. Keep in mind that the form of the verb can change depending on who is doing the action, and there will be examples in the next slide. So notice how the first sentence says, I walk to work every morning. So when we're talking about something I'm doing, the verb stays the same. But if we're talking about something that he or she is doing, then the verb changes. So it would turn to he walks to work every morning and she walks to work every morning. And make sure you check out my video on all verb tenses so that you can get a detailed explanation as opposed to just a quick explanation in this video, because that video will make way more sense to you. Thank you guys for coming. I hope this video was informative. If this video was informative, please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe, or all of the above, and I'll see you next time.